You have been told to hold on, but existence invites you to let go. The mind seeks control, but life flows only when control is surrendered. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Welcome to surrender, the freedom beyond control. The mind loves control. It believes that if it can organize everything, plan everything, hold everything tightly in its hands, it can protect itself from pain, uncertainty, and loss. Control is the mind's greatest illusion and its deepest prison. You have been taught since childhood to take control, to control your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, your future, even your happiness. And in this endless effort to control life, you forgot to live it. Life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced. It was meant to be danced with, not dominated. It was meant to flow through you like wind through open hands, free, spontaneous, alive. But the mind cannot trust something it cannot predict. It fears the unknown, so it builds walls of control. It plans, it worries, it manipulates, it calculates, and still everything keeps changing. No matter how tightly you hold on, life slips through your fingers because life belongs to no one. Control gives a false sense of safety, but the price you pay for that illusion is peace. The tighter you hold, the more tense you become. The more you resist change, the more painful change feels. You cannot stop the river by building a dam. You can only drown beneath it. Surrender is the art of flowing with the river. It is the courage to stop fighting the current and let life carry you where it wants to go. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is not resignation. It is trust. It is saying, I do not know what will happen, but I trust the intelligence of existence more than the fear of my mind. The moment you surrender, something beautiful begins to happen. Your body relaxes. Your breath deepens. Your eyes soften. Because the battle ends, the river that once felt wild and dangerous begins to feel like music. You are not losing control. You are discovering flow. To surrender is to return to your natural state because control was learned. Trust is your nature. Look at the trees. They do not force the wind to blow. Look at the ocean. It does not struggle against the tide. Look at the stars. They move in silence without command. Yet the universe remains in perfect harmony. And you are part of that same harmony. When you stop resisting, you rediscover your rhythm with the whole. Then your life becomes a dance, effortless, graceful, alive. The ego is afraid of surrender because surrender dissolves it. The ego survives by control. It says, I am the doer. I must make things happen. But what has the ego ever truly controlled? It cannot control the body. One day it will decay. It cannot control the heart. It beats on its own. It cannot control the mind, even that runs wild like wind in the forest. Control is an illusion. It is a game played by the frightened self to feel safe in an uncontrollable universe. And the more you try to control, the more afraid you become. Because deep down, you know the truth. You are not in control. Surrender is the moment you stop pretending. You stop playing the game of control. You take a deep breath and say, I don't know what life is doing, but I trust it. And instantly, something shifts. It's as if a huge burden falls off your shoulders. You begin to see that life has always been taking care of itself. The flowers bloom without your permission. The seasons change without your planning. Your heart beats without your control. You are not running life. Life is running you. And it has been doing so perfectly since the beginning of time. The ego cannot surrender, only awareness can. The ego always wants to hold the steering wheel. Awareness knows there is no wheel at all. There is only the journey, and the journey is infinite. When you surrender, fear dissolves, because fear is born of the illusion of control. The more you cling, the more you fear losing, the more you own, the more you fear breaking. But when you surrender, there is nothing to lose, because nothing was ever yours to begin with. The river of existence flows eternally. When you stop trying to swim upstream, you discover the peace of being carried. That peace is not laziness, it is alignment. You are no longer fighting reality, you are flowing with it. Surrender is not passive, it is deeply intelligent. It does not mean you stop acting. It means your actions are no longer driven by fear, but guided by trust. You do what feels true in this moment, and then you let go of the result. That is freedom. When you let go of control, you create space for life to surprise you. You discover creativity you never planned, opportunities you never imagined, and grace that was hidden behind your plans. Life reveals its intelligence only when you stop trying to outsmart it. Control is rooted in doubt. Surrender is rooted in faith. Faith not in religion, but in existence itself. In the simple fact that the same intelligence that moves the stars and makes the flowers bloom can also guide your life perfectly. When you trust that, you stop living in anxiety and start living in wonder. Every day becomes an unfolding mystery. You no longer wake up with a list. You wake up with curiosity. You no longer move through life with tension. You move with openness. Surrender transforms your perception. Suddenly, what used to be obstacles now look like teachers. What used to be problems now look like invitations to grow. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this showing me? That shift is the beginning of real maturity, because control belongs to the childish mind. Trust belongs to the wise heart. The world tells you to be strong, but real strength is not resistance. It is surrender. To surrender is to be flexible, like water, soft yet unstoppable. A tree that bends survives the storm. A rigid tree breaks. Let go of your rigidity. Let go of your need to know. Let go of your constant effort to be right, to be safe, to be certain. You cannot predict the next breath. Why waste life trying to predict the next year? The beauty of surrender is in its simplicity. It requires no technique, no effort. It is simply this: stop fighting what is. Let the present moment be what it is. Flow with it. Trust it. Love it. And as you relax into this surrender, a quiet joy begins to arise. Not because everything is perfect, but because you have stopped demanding that it should be. This is the beginning of freedom beyond control. The freedom of saying yes to life just as it is. Surrender begins in the heart. It is not an act of logic. It is an act of love. The mind cannot surrender because it is made of resistance. The heart, however, understands the language of trust. It knows that life cannot be controlled, it can only be embraced. To surrender is to fall into the arms of existence. It is to whisper to life, I trust you. Not because you understand everything, but because you feel that there is a deeper order beyond your comprehension, an invisible intelligence that has always been guiding you even when you were lost. When the heart surrenders, fear loses its foundation, because fear is born from separation, from the belief that you are alone, that you must protect yourself from the vastness of life. But the moment you surrender, that separation disappears. You realize you were never alone. Existence has always been holding you, breathing you, carrying you. Look at your breath. You do not make it happen. It happens to you. Look at your heartbeat. It beats without your command. Look at the stars. They move in perfect harmony without your supervision. This is surrender life happening effortlessly. You are not the master. You are the melody. And life is the musician playing through you. The more you trust this music, the more beautiful it sounds. The more you fight it, the more painful it becomes. Suffering is resistance. Peace is surrender. Surrender is not giving up, it is giving in. It is not defeat, it is discovery. It is the realization that you are part of something infinitely wise, infinitely loving. The waves do not resist the ocean. They rise and fall in harmony with it. And in that dance, there is no effort, only grace. When you surrender, grace enters your life. It begins to move you from within. You don't plan, you flow. You don't struggle, you allow. And yet, everything begins to unfold perfectly. This is the paradox of surrender. The moment you let go of control, life starts to work for you instead of against you. Because now you are no longer blocking the flow. You are aligned with it. People often confuse surrender with weakness. They think that surrender means to become passive, to stop living with passion. But surrender is not the end of passion. It is its purification. It transforms blind ambition into conscious purpose. It turns desperate desire into inspired action. It turns effort into effortless flow. When you surrender, you still act. But now, your actions are rooted in peace, not in anxiety. You still move, but your movement comes from stillness. You still speak, but your words are born from silence. Surrender is not an escape from life. It is entering life more deeply. Because now you are no longer in conflict with it. You are one with its rhythm. When you surrender, you stop saying, life should be different. You begin to say, life is wise. Let me see what it is showing me. In that shift, your heart opens. You stop closing yourself to the unknown. You start dancing with it. The unknown is not your enemy. It is the source of all creation. Everything beautiful, everything alive, everything new comes from the unknown. Control builds walls around you. Surrender opens doors. Control creates repetition. Surrender brings discovery. Have you ever noticed that when you are relaxed, things naturally fall into place? That when you stop forcing, clarity arises on its own? That when you stop chasing people, Love comes quietly. This is the intelligence of surrender. Life knows how to balance itself. It just doesn't need your interference. When you surrender, you begin to trust this intelligence. You realize that even chaos has order, that even your mistakes have meaning, that even your pain has purpose. You stop seeing life as a problem to be solved and start seeing it as a mystery to be lived. Because the surrendered heart does not ask, "Why me?" It whispers, "Thank you." This gratitude changes everything, because in gratitude, control cannot exist. The moment you say thank you, you drop resistance and open yourself to receive. Life loves to give to the open heart. To live in surrender is to live in openness, to let life touch you fully. You do not hide behind plans or expectations. You allow joy to fill you. You allow pain to teach you. You allow silence to hold you. In surrender, there is no avoidance. You stop choosing only what is comfortable. You say yes to the whole, to the beauty and the sorrow, the light and the shadow, because you understand that both are parts of one great harmony. Surrender brings depth to your experience. When you resist, you stay on the surface, caught in thoughts, reactions, opinions. But when you surrender, you sink into the depths of life. You taste it completely without dividing it. This is why surrender and awareness are inseparable. Awareness watches. Surrender allows. Awareness sees. Surrender trusts. Together, they make life divine. The mind will ask, "How do I surrender?" But there is no how, because any how is another form of control. Surrender happens when you stop asking how, when you stop trying to make it happen, when you see clearly that control is suffering. In that seeing, surrender flowers naturally. You don't do surrender, you fall into it, like falling asleep. It happens when you stop trying. The first taste of surrender may feel like falling, but soon you realize you are falling upward into the sky of your own being. You are not losing ground, you are gaining wings. The heart that surrenders does not shrink, it expands. It becomes vast enough to contain the whole of existence. In surrender, there is no me and life. There is only life breathing, moving, living as you. When you surrender, life begins to live you. And everything becomes effortless. You stop asking for control and start living in communion. You begin to see that life is not something happening to you. You are life happening. There is a deep joy in this realization. It is the joy of coming home. You were lost in the storm of doing, and now you have returned to the calm of being. Surrender does not give you a new life. It reveals the life that was always there, waiting behind your resistance. When surrender becomes total, fear disappears completely. Because fear depends on the idea of separateness. When there is no you apart from life, what can you fear? Who can be harmed? You see that everything that ever happened was exactly what needed to happen. Even the pain was part of the perfection. Even the mistakes were steps in the dance. You stop trying to rewrite the past, and you stop trying to secure the future. You rest in the sacredness of now. That is surrender. Not a reaction, but a revelation. Not something you do, but something you realize. It is the discovery that existence has always known better than you, and that your only task was to trust. When you trust, even death loses its sting. Because you see that death too is a transformation, not an end. It is the great surrender, the final letting go into the arms of infinity. And those who have surrendered in life meet death as a friend, not an enemy. Surrender is freedom, freedom from worry, freedom from the illusion of control, freedom from the endless what if. It is the freedom to live without fear, to love without demand, to exist without effort. You cannot imagine this freedom. You can only live it. And it begins here in this breath, in this letting go. Let go. Just let go. Not of people, not of things, but of your grip on how things should be. Let life show you that it has always known the way. Surrender and feel the peace that was waiting beneath every struggle. Surrender and realize that freedom was never about control. It was about trust. To surrender is to trust the unknown. It is to walk without a map, yet feel no fear. Because something inside you knows that existence does not make mistakes, knows that every path, no matter how uncertain, leads you closer to truth. The mind demands guarantees. It says, show me the result, then I will trust. There's even, but life whispers, trust, and the result will reveal itself. That whisper is soft. But if you listen deeply, you can hear it beneath the noise of your thoughts. A quiet assurance that life knows what it's doing. Trust does not mean everything will go the way you want. It means you understand that whatever happens, it is exactly what needs to happen for your awakening. The heart that trusts no longer fights the rhythm of life. It dances with it. Even when the music is unfamiliar, the unknown is not darkness. It is depth. The mind calls it darkness because it cannot see beyond itself. But once you surrender, you discover that the unknown is light, a light that blinds the ego but nourishes the soul, because the unknown is where God hides, where truth breathes, where the infinite reveals its face. All that you fear is unknown, and all that you truly love is unknown too. You never fall in love with what you fully understand. You fall in love with mystery. That is why surrender is love. To trust the unknown is to love existence itself. When you control, you love only your idea of life. When you surrender, you love life as it is. That shift changes everything. Surrender is not about changing the outer world. It is about changing the inner posture. It is the difference between grasping and opening, between forcing and allowing, between living from fear and living from faith. When you trust, you stop measuring moments by comfort or discomfort. You start seeing everything as a teacher. Joy teaches gratitude. Pain teaches presence. Loss teaches letting go. And silence teaches listening. Every moment becomes sacred because every moment is a step toward awareness. The unknown invites you to grow. It calls you to move beyond the limits of your mind. The mind says, stay safe, stay certain. But the soul says, step forward. There is more. And the more you listen to the soul, the freer you become. Freedom does not come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting even when you know nothing. It comes from saying yes to the mystery. That yes is surrender. The greatest courage is not to climb mountains, but to walk into the unknown without resistance. The real adventure is not in the world. It is in the heart that dares to let go of control. When you trust the unknown, you live lightly. You stop carrying the heavy armor of worry and doubt. You move like the wind. You touch everything. You possess nothing. You pass through the world, but the world cannot cling to you. This lightness is grace. Grace is not something you earn. It descends when you stop insisting. It appears when you stop fighting. Grace is the fragrance of surrender. The surrendered being lives in effortless flow. They are not afraid of change because they have understood that change is the nature of life. They do not cling to yesterday. They do not chase tomorrow. They live fully in the only time that ever exists now. Now is where the unknown meets you. Now is the doorway to eternity. If you can surrender to this moment, you have surrendered to the whole. Because this moment is the whole. It contains past, future, heaven, and earth, all folded into the stillness of now. When you trust the unknown, you stop asking for explanations. You stop asking, why did this happen? You start seeing the intelligence behind every event. You realize that what you once called accidents were invitations to awaken. The storm that broke your plans was not punishment, it was purification. The silence that felt empty was not absence, it was space for awareness to bloom. The loss that hurt so deeply was not cruelty, it was life teaching you to love without attachment. You begin to see the perfection behind the imperfection, the order beneath the chaos, the love beneath the pain. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You bow to it. You surrender to it completely. Surrender brings a clarity that control never can. When you are controlling, your vision is narrow. You see only your own plan. When you surrender, your eyes widen. You see how everything connects. You see that life has always been conspiring in your favor, not against you. Even the difficult moments were blessings in disguise. They broke you open so that light could enter. They emptied you so that you could be filled. They humbled you so that you could see clearly. Surrender turns suffering into sacredness. It transforms wounds into wisdom, because the moment you stop resisting pain, pain becomes transformation. You no longer run from it. You allow it to do its work. And once the lesson is learned, the pain dissolves like clouds after a storm, revealing the clear sky. This is the beauty of trust. It turns every experience into a teacher. It turns life into a constant revelation. The mind asks, what if I get hurt? Awareness answers, you already have and you survived. Then the mind asks, what if I fail? Awareness smiles. Then you learn. The mind asks, what if I fall? And awareness whispers, then you will fly. Surrender does not remove pain from life. It removes the resistance that multiplies pain. It does not guarantee success. It reveals that success and failure are just waves in the same ocean. When you stop resisting the waves, you discover that you are the ocean. To live in surrender is to live fearlessly, not because life is always kind, but because you have discovered that even its cruelty hides compassion. you see that existence is not trying to break you, it is trying to free you. And the way to freedom is trust. Trust that what leaves your life was never yours. Trust that what stays was always meant to be. Trust that what hurts is healing you. Trust that what confuses you is teaching you. Trust that what delays you is protecting you. This trust is not blind, it is luminous. It is not belief, it is knowing. It is the kind of faith that grows from seeing again and again that life never betrays those who are sincere. When you trust the unknown, miracles stop being rare. They become the language of life because everything becomes meaningful. Even silence speaks. Even stillness moves. Even the smallest moment carries eternity within it. In surrender, you do not ask for miracles. You see that everything is a miracle. The fact that you exist, that you can breathe, that you can love, that you can be aware is miracle enough. The mind keeps asking for more. Surrender bows in gratitude for what is, and gratitude opens the heart even wider. The more grateful you become, the easier surrender feels, because you no longer cling to what you have. You celebrate it and you let it go. Letting go is not loss. It is making space for the new. Just as the tree must shed old leaves to grow new ones, you must release the old to make space for what is coming. When you let go, you discover that nothing real is ever lost. What is true remains. What is false fades. Surrender is purification, the fire that burns away everything that is not essential. It leaves you naked but free, empty but full, silent but alive. To surrender is to say yes to life. And that yes is the most powerful prayer you can offer. It says, I trust the intelligence that beats my heart, moves the stars, and breathes through all things. That yes turns every moment into meditation, every breath into worship. The one who surrenders no longer tries to reach heaven. They realize heaven has always been here, in this breath, in this silence, in this now. Surrender is the return home, not to a place, but to your own being. It is the moment you stop seeking and start seeing. The moment you stop fighting and start flowing. The moment you stop asking for life to serve you and start serving life. In that shift, a profound peace descends, not the peace of escape, but the peace of alignment, the peace that comes when the wave realizes it has never been separate from the ocean. And that, my friend, is the power of surrender, not the loss of control, but the discovery that there was never anyone controlling to begin with. Thank you for listening. Remember, you don't fall when you surrender. You rise into the arms of life itself. Trust the flow, let go, and be free.